Well, I'll be brief anyway. I'd like to thank the lead councillor for a comprehensive answer, and I'm quite pleased that at least some progress is being made on the issue of accreditation and quality of accommodation for students. Although I'm a little disappointed that we haven't been able to progress this much further. But it does lead me to ask a very short supplementary question. Will the council be reviewing the scheme in conjunction with the university in order to gauge its effectiveness? And when can we expect such a review to be brought to the council and community scrutiny committee, which I believe is the relevant one? And also, are there new initiatives planned to try to encourage other establishments to actually participate in this scheme? I understand only the university has expressed an interest in that and are working with us to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Freeman. Councillor Creedy.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Freeman for his question. I share your regret, Councillor Freeman, that we haven't progressed as far as we might have liked to have done with this scheme of accreditation. I also share your regret that really it's only the university who are seizing upon this with any great enthusiasm. We have approached a number of other education establishments in the town and thus far have not been received with open arms. As I said in my reply to your original question, we are hoping that the pilot will be launched in the spring. Once it is launched, we will be looking at it very carefully to see whether it does in fact make a difference to the students who use the accommodation. And I know that we will be bringing whatever gentle encouragement we can bring to bear through the local strategic partnership, which is of course chaired by the university. So, having said all that, I just want to reassure the council again that we will continue, our officers will continue their work of inspection to ensure that accommodation offered to our students, indeed accommodation offered to all the residents of the borough, is of an acceptable standard. And I would draw your attention to the final part of my answer to your question A, that although there has clearly been an increase in the number of HMOs, we have not in fact seen an increase in the number of housing complaints, which I think is probably a fairly good indication that our proactive inspections and the way we deal with any complaints we do receive is having a beneficial effect. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Creedy. I'm sorry, Councillor Freeman, you're muddled there. Thank you. And Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I actually went back and looked at the original motion and reports that went to the executive in 2008. The proposed motion that came originally from the council included the belief that students have the right to good quality accommodation and that residents have the right to see their neighbourhoods maintained and not left to deteriorate by absentee landlords. And I don't think any of us would disagree with those two thoughts. The rights of the students and other people renting that accommodation, but also of their neighbours. And the lead member herself referred to this report in her response. But I'd also like to highlight and ask a question about another part of the report for the executive of the 29th of January 2009, where the recommendations at the end that were approved included that a report on progress with the development of the list be submitted initially to the Environment and Housing Scrutiny Committee in 12 months' time. So perhaps the lead member could show some light on why this report actually did not go to a scrutiny committee, and this may partly explain why we seem to have made such slow progress in what is actually a rather important matter. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor, and Councillor Angela Dunning.
Yes, thank you. I was waving my hand earlier because I was just wondering whether one should declare an interest. The Labour Party owns property in central Guildford in which students live. And so I'm entitled to speak on this, but I'm just declaring it as an interest because I noticed that Councillor Hopper has mentioned that the church owns property. So if you want to record that too, please. So I'm just reading Councillor Creedy's reply, and I'm thinking this is the first I've heard of it. As a landlord and managing the students there, I would say that the university run an exemplary scheme, which is a pleasure to use. But I'm a bit concerned about the endless hairdressers are not young professionals, but a house of multiple occupation could be people in all walks of life and all ages, people who are unable to either rent or buy anything, and for whom the choice is to share with others. So I'd just like to offer that as a comment. It's not just former students, they're the rest of the residents in Guildford.
Thank you, Councillor Gillard. You made a note. Right, Councillor True.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Perhaps I should declare an interest in that my son is a student living in the nature low in Nottingham, but possibly that has no bearing on Guildford. I quite agree, Councillor Gunning, that we are not just talking about students, and I hope that I will make that clearer when we address a notice of motion which is later in our agenda. For the moment, in response to Councillor Meredith's questions, again, I quite agree, students and residents both have an equal right to good quality accommodation, and that is the constant work and aspirations of the housing department here. Clearly no progress has been made in relation to this particular scheme because of the reasons set out in my answer. The university has seen fit to hesitate somewhat in going forward, and I am therefore very anxious to press them to the latest deadline that they have given us, which is spring this year, and I hope that once the pilot scheme is underway, we will be able to report more fully either to scrutiny or to full council, whatever is appropriate. In the meantime, I can, of course, if Councillor Meredith would be interested in this, let her have details of the activity that we as a council are taking on any housing complaints received, and I shall be happy to do that if that would suit.
Thank you, Councillor True. Right, now we move on to item 6, disclosures of interest. The disclosures of interest are set out on Appendix 1 to the paper. Are there applicants? No? Okay, thank you very much. Right, 7, recommendations to the Executive. I invite Councillor Tony Root to move the adoption of the recommendation in minute number EX44 to the Executive meeting held on the 20th of October 2011, which relates to the proposed